a summary of Chapter 1 from the World Schools Debating Manual. It begins with explaining that to win a debate, you need to give good reasons why your side of the motion is true, and you must show why your opposition's reasons are wrong. Your group of prepared ideas is called your case, and in your case, you must define what your motion means. This is known as a definition. You must make your arguments. These are reasons why your side of the motion is true. You must finally divide your arguments between the first and second speaker. This is known as the splits. Moving on to the preparation process. Step 1 is the issue and definition. The first step in preparing a debate is working out the issue. The principle is, where there is a clear issue, debate it. The second principle is when the issue is not absolutely clear, and it is, find the issue that is most obvious, most relevant, and most debatable. The second principle is when there is no issue that is most obvious, most relevant, or most debatable. And then you use, where there is no obvious issue, you may choose an issue that the motion could refer to. What is the definition? The first prop presents the definition early in the speech. Remember to define terms in the motion are not single words, and don't define metaphorical terms literally, and be prepared to give an example to explain your definition. Step 2. The theme or case line. A theme is a sentence that explains the main idea behind your case by explaining why the motion is or isn't true and how it is or isn't true. At the end of each argument, to explain how the argument supports the main idea, you may use your case. You may use your case line. Step 3, the arguments. An argument is the distinct points that support your side of the motion. There are many levels of the argument, and first there's the label. It is a short and simple statement of what your argument is about. Then an explanation. This is a theoretical and abstract explanation of how and why your arguments are true. Then example. These answer questions by convincing your audience and adjudicator that your argument is true. Then the tieback. This shows how the argument supports your case approach. It must make any logical links clear. A useful technique is to answer the question, so what about your argument? The answer forms the essence of your tieback. First and second speaker must have at least 2 arguments. Step 4. Splitting the splits. Splitting your case involves finding 2 labels, one for the first speaker's material and one for the second speaker's material. Your arguments should be grouped along common logical lines. Step 5. In Step 5, there are many things discussed. You can learn what each speaker says. You learn about the formal introduction the first prop gives and how to begin it and what does it have in it. You learn about the brief introduction, which is required by everyone except for first prop. Step 5 discusses how to set up the team's approach and a brief link to the team case, and which the second speaker is required to give for a sense of unity. It moves on to the outline and summary. It is where you simply list the arguments that you will present or have presented. Next is the conclusion. It needs to be effective by powerfully reminding your audience of your central points. It reminds you not to use a theme as your conclusion, but rather a quote or an idea. This step moves on to timing, where it explains that timing may vary and it depends on the context, but you must not spend time on unnecessary topics. We now move on to teamwork and preparation, starting with introduction. The basics are to brainstorm, where each member separately prepares the case. Then feeding back. Each speaker in turn tells the team everything they have prepared without interruption. Then case development. This is where the team builds the case. Next is writing speeches. This is after the case development has been completed. The team members write the speeches individually. Then final discussion. This is the final step in the preparation process, where the first and second speakers briefly summarize the speeches. The third speaker explains the possible arguments and rebuttals. The team also has to identify key strategic goals in the debate. Chapter 1 is ended by talking about resolving differences of opinion and suggests the best way is for one proposal to be rejected completely instead of trying to merge the two ideas.